Historians say the end of every civilization to date was caused by famine. Lack of food. The reason for lack of food doesn't matter. It's the famine that does it. And the ensuing disaster as people starve to death into smaller and smaller groups. If you don't dig a little deeper into the news, you won't know, but the worldwide supply chain of food is collapsing. Some of it deliberately, some of it because of the plague. For example, you can't get tin cans in Italy because the tin can manufacturers are shut down. So the Italian tomato crop last year had to rot in the fields because they had no cans to put it in. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of stuff like that. Farmers are being paid not to grow crops. Fertilizers through the roof. And in the first and second worlds, we are not used to growing our own food, or catching our own food, or eating very little food. I had dinner in an African restaurant, and I asked him if they had dessert, and he said, no, in Africa we're just glad to be able to eat. That was 7 years ago. I follow this quite closely as part of my vocation. And this is 13 days before the American Thanksgiving weekend, and it is projected that all the people who are not following the news, the preppers, the conspiracy people, will want to go and have their big weekend, and they'll realize they can't afford the gas to go 40 miles to Aunt Mary's. They'll go in the grocery store and find out it's $105 for 3 steaks. Price of groceries is through the roof, and they're unavailable in a lot of areas. The combination of high gas prices and no food and COVID restrictions will wake up the Karens who have been in denial that something's going on. And what's going on is 2 things. Worldwide attempt at depopulation. By the students of the people who brought us World War II. Now they shave their heads and write books. The reason we don't know who built the pyramids or how is every 10,000 years there's a planetary alignment that causes what will look like end times, the Earth's crust bursting open, giant floods, volcanism, darkened skies, cool temperatures, crop failures, which is leading to famine in years past. Oh, this alignment is coming up next year in October 26th, I think. And if you're a fan of celestial mechanics, as my sources are, when planets and moons engage, there's a quick wobble as the fields connect. And the four outer gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, are going to be in a configuration that happens every 10,000 years. And the Earth will be behind the Sun, and then it'll come around the corner and become direct line with this alignment, and there'll be the wobble. And the wobble will be a civilization ending event, extinction level event, where crust will burst open. There'll be tsunamis that could be 12,000 feet high. The volcanoes will go up and darken the skies, so no sun to grow food, and cooler temperatures. And if there's also no food for the animals, there'll be no animals to eat either. And people will die off of starvation and eventually get into cannibalism and wind up maybe 2 years later with some small pockets of survivors. This has been the history on this planet, and that's why we don't know who built the pyramids. 10,000 years ago-ish, 10 to 13,500 years ago, there was some kind of worldwide civilization ending event. And 20,000 years ago was the Great Noah's Flood, which has been verified by geologists, and taking the solar system by computer backwards and discovering when the alignments happened. Noah's Flood is 20,000 years ago to the month. So Peter Ouspensky, Russian philosopher, says there are 12 levels of meaning in the Bible. The Bible is not just as presented, it's many things. And the people who were involved in putting it together knew about this 10,000-year event and told us it would be happening approximately now. I called it end times. And I don't know if it's in the Bible, but the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Apocalypse actually means the revelation of knowledge. One of them is famine, disease, pestilence, which is attacks by insects and rats who have bubonic plague still. So if you're not connected to this kind of news, this is going to hit very suddenly. Next year. And you can see the inflation happening now. This is just the beginning. the shortages of everything. You can't get tires even. And I think 4 years ago I went to buy tires for this, and I didn't need a complete set, and the lady who runs the tire shop said there are 6 of them, and I said, in your shop? And she said, no, in the entire city. You should grab them now, because 4 years ago, the tire shops were not making new tires. Which would include all the way up to the highway trucks, which apparently at this juncture they can't get tires or chips. Average wait for parts is 5 or 6 months. So reason B, this is the natural reason, is there is a group who, if you've ever heard about, maybe it's on TV now actually, the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov, that civilization trundles along as a way, and underneath it, babysitting it, is what they call the second foundation, which is to bring back the civilization after the disaster. And there are 2 groups of people who do this. There are the positive people, who would be let's say the yogis in Tibet who know this secret of cosmic consciousness and universal peace, and that whole technology, and those who wish to rule by virtue of holding back knowledge from the general populace and using it to dominate and look amazing. For example, we've only had, I guess from Copernicus on, and the Dutch inventing lenses and telescopes, and knowledge of the planets and the stars, and that the sun is the center of the solar system, etc., etc. If we've only known that for 500 years, how come the people who built the pyramid knew this and knew where the Pleiades were? And there's all kinds of mathematical, not secrets, but if you look closely, you discover principles, scientific principles that could be used. This is a way it's been passed on through time, written in stone. So if they knew this, how come we didn't know it till a few hundred years ago? The knowledge is kept by the inner circle, or the Illuminati, which is a feminine verb form of the ones who are enlightened, the ones who know, the ones who have knowledge. So, along with the natural event will be a giant false flag event to pair up with the natural event, to bring in times so that after this happens, there can be a new world order out of chaos. And the chaos would seemingly be stupid and unnecessary, except there is this natural disaster. So after the natural disaster, we rebuild and stay on top. And those who don't know suffer and die. Which is why I'm making this video. So the preppers are right. And it's going to be worse than even they predict. They're just predicting the false flag, but they're not apprised of the upcoming celestial disaster at the same time. So it's going to be far worse than people are imagining. So in the Bible it talks about end times. And yes, there will be earthquakes and floods and famines and disease and pestilence and war. It's easy to say that, but when your house gets blown away by a wind going 200 miles an hour, and there's no food in the grocery stores, and all your neighbors are starving as well. There's nowhere to go because this will be worldwide. There's no backup. Already the food chain's emptying out. There's Walmarts in the States and some places are putting up concrete blocks in front of their front entrances so that people can't drive through the front and just smash the doors in to get inside. And the shelves are still stocked, but they know something's coming. And one of the people I follow says that we're 13 days out from the general public having a realization that things are bad. There'll be panic buying, including violence among the middle class. And along with, I don't see this electric car thing happening. The grid can't support it. And oil is the Rockefellers. And if you're going up against the Rockefeller empire, you're going to lose. Rockefeller is out of Egypt. The Ra is the god of Egypt. Ka means the family of Ra. Bel means like fellowship. When Egypt fell, the money was split up between the Ra Ka Bel, which was the family, and the Ra Ka Shield, which is the Rothschilds? Yeah, Rothschilds. And they left Egypt and went to Switzerland with the assistance of the Knights of Malta. So we're talking old money here. This is Egyptian money. So I don't see that going to completion. Appended to the American government, we have private organizations that are unelected, like the Council on Foreign Relations, which counsels the bribed government members on what they want for foreign policy so they can make money. And America's in ill repute around the world because of their foreign policy and things they've done. And why they've done these things is at the behest of big business. So it's not the people of America or the government of America. It's the people who were bribed by big business influencing the foreign policy so that what people around the world see coming out of America is greed and destruction. So they're not too pleased with that. Things that are not really the government are the Council on Foreign Relations. Henry Kissinger's been advising the government since the Nixon era. World Economic Forum. Look up the definition of forum. The United Nations is in New York because it was started by the USA and they owned the building and the land. World Health Organization is US owned and operated. Non-elected. Who are they? And why do they get to dictate you? So prepare, my lovelies. It's going to get bad. It'll be the weather will be enough to do in civilization. Famine will be enough to do in civilization. The next one in quotation marks might be able to do in civilization. And on hearsay only, that people are fracking around the Yellowstone buried volcano, which seems really stupid. If that volcano goes off, it will end the world. It'll be a civilization-ending event. However, the skinny on that is they're not trying to make it blow up. They want to find out how much tickling they can do on that volcano, so make it look like it's about to blow up, and that will be the false flag. Is Yellowstone's going to blow? We have to institute martial law and put everybody on rationing and move everybody into camps. Because if that thing blows, America will be untenable for maybe 2,500 years. There'll be ash everywhere, which will kill everything. And China in particular wants the USA. They see it as a vast empty area going to waste. And they plan a genocide and colonization. And if it sounds a little out there, when the Europeans came to North America, just North America, they did Portugal and Spain did Mexico, South America as well. There were, I think, 800 million natives living in 10 kingdoms in North America, and that number is now 800,000. So that's a genocide. Spanish foreign policy was when they went into an area, they would kill absolutely everyone and then say, oh, this land is empty. We claim it for Spain. Don't expect better behavior now. It's still about the crazy psychopaths being in charge of the world. Peter Spansky says that mankind is the only animal where the psychotic section of it is in charge of it. And much more than this. There's the craziness. It has been implanted on the souls of the beings who are here. This is what the Catholics call original sin. Sounds unfair. It's using those words. It's a guilt trip. Yeah, but you were born with original sin. That's very, very unfair. But it's actually something that was stuck onto you to prevent your success as a spiritual being in the game of this universe. And the ones who dramatize it the most completely are the dictators, who are amazingly similar. They always have their name and statues and pictures everywhere, and they need control, control, control. They stress peace and harmony and strict adherence to religion and traditions. I just saw the documentary on, I think, Romania. They have a guy there like that, or they had a guy like that, and same as the guy in Korea. And bonus round, the Kim Jong-un is purportedly having shot an orchestra, female orchestra leader 123 times because she did or said something he didn't like. So this is world-class crazy. Not you know, you jail them, have them executed, or shoot them yourself. But if you're going to stand there and constantly reload the gun and pummel the body into goo with 123 shots. What is that? So be warned, whatever you've done for preparation is not enough. You need to do at least double that. And personal protection is going to be a must. Move out of the city if you can, because there'll be, where I am, there'll be 1.2 million people looking for groceries. And I'm in Canada. If this is not so bad here, if it happens in the States, I'm 30 miles from the border. People will be coming across that border up here looking for groceries. And interestingly enough, if you don't know, I'm in Vancouver, Canada. 100 miles from here, the civilization ends. There's smaller municipalities out there and farms, and then we hit the mountains. And from there on up for 300 miles to 500 miles, there's nothing but pine trees. If you think you're going to run out of the city and live off the land, you better have some hunting skills. If the natives are out there, they're not going to welcome the white man fleeing from the cities after what we've done. The British forced 60 million Chinese people onto opium addictions, and 2 wars were fought over that to force them to accept opium. And you can imagine what they think of the British people doing that. It's not a well-meaning world. There are millions of people living in rural and cities in North America, and they're completely dependent on the food chain. They have no skills. They probably don't have a place to go, and even if they can get there, the survival is going to be permanent. It's at least 3 years of disaster before the beginnings of recovery, which will be the arrival of the Antichrist and someone who's saying, I can straighten all this out, but you're going to have to give me absolute power to do it. And that's supposedly going to be the way history goes. And things will be not back to normal till 2050, actually, and that will be the new normal, which will be a worldwide technocracy, one world government. A science fiction world, which when I was a young teenager was an avid science fiction fan. Great computers, robots, interstellar travel, but not against our will. It was like a cool idea, a good idea. If you want to see the future, look at an old cartoon movie called Heavy Metal. And the gist of that is when the civilization becomes so mighty that the person is nothing, he's forced to become criminal just to survive. So I'm prepped 50%. I thought I was ready to go, but I just look at new estimates now. As I leave here, I'm going to be looking at a trailer I can attach to this thing and head out. I have one place to go. It's about 300 miles out. And don't wait. It's going to happen so fast you won't believe it. It'll be seemingly like overnight. It's been in the works for 500 years. I've been pushing really hard since 1930. And they're false flagging us, and they want to get the guns away from us so they can mow us down with 50 caliber machine guns. Pundits say it's not going to go back to normal. I guess most people, probably 90 plus 95, 98% of people are secretly wishing that this would just all go away and everything will open up and we'll go back to normal, and bars and restaurants will be open, and there'll be concerts, and everyone will go back to work, and it'll just be like a bad dream. But the nightmare is coming the next 3 years. So I do these videos, I do what I can, I go out on a worldwide basis. I used to have 450 videos like this. They were taken down. So I'm starting again. So please like this, share it with like-minded people. subscribe to this channel and I'll get more reach. This is about communicating to as many people as we can save by upping their awareness. And for the rest, there's nothing we can do for them except avoid them taking our stuff because they think they have a right to it. Hence the anti-hoarding laws which are coming in. So, from my cold, dead hands,